Humble obeisances to the August gathering. This is my first time in this auditorium, as much as it is my first time for Mindful Insights. Thank you, Mani, for graciously inviting me and to the gathering as well. The topic chosen for the day is Garuda. And people who are kind of accustomed to listening to some of my discourses may be wondering that why is an LED screen aiding me? When Mani met me in the month of January, he wanted me to speak in Feb. So, unfortunately, I couldn't give him a date in the month of Feb. I said June is the best month. And at that point in time, I asked him, what do you do? So when I told him, he said that he's into a business that has to do a lot with LED screens. And he also told me that of all the very good projects that he has done, the recent chess tournament that happened in Mahabalipuram, all the LED was done by him. So that is when I thought, why not make the best use of LED now? So that is how the topic on Garuda is featured. I'm sure every time we visit a temple that has affiliation with Vaishnavism or Sri Vaishnavism, the first thing that we make note of is the Garuda's Sannidhi. In large temples, when you enter the premises, the Sannidhi for Garuda itself is so huge. I'm sure when we go across, I will take you to one of the beautiful pictures of Sri Rangam, that everything associated with Sri Rangam has the prefix Periya or Periya, Peri. So we have this Periya Tiruvadi, which is Garuda, and then we have a huge Garuda's presence there. So Garuda's presence is excellent and important in all temples. But we need to understand how Garuda is featured in Sanatana Dharma. This one is a beautiful painting by none other than a person whom we all have seen and liked, a person who's very close to my heart, Keshav. So this is a depiction of a Southeast Asian Garuda. Garuda may look slightly different, but this is how he's showcased in the Balinese tradition. So, I've spoken in Indonesia thrice. It is an archipelago nation, a Muslim majority nation. There are a few islands which have Hindu majority as well. The driver who drove me from the airport in Jakarta to the place where I was supposed to speak stopped his car and performed his namaz justfully and sincerely. His name was Aditya. So any shop that you enter in Jakarta, the welcome note is Jai Subhadra, Jai Arjuna. And I was taken to the largest mall in Jakarta the first time I went in 2012, and it was called Ayodhya Mall. And trust me, if the mall had this name in Chennai, there would be total ruptures and protests. So, that said, where is Garuda's Upakhyana? The charitram of Garuda depicted, where is it associated? So when we get to see Garuda, we have to understand Mahabharata first. So we have 18 parvas of Sri Mahabharatam. The first parva is called Adi Parva. It is one of the largest parvas. In Vyasacharya's Sri Mahabharatam's Adi Parva is Garuda Upakhyanam. Vainateya Upakhyanam, it is called. So, let me take you through how this Upakhyanam goes. So, there is a mention of two sisters called Kadru and Vinata. Kadru and Vinata are married to the Rishi of Kashmir when manuscripts were more and stones were less. So, in that Kashmir where manuscripts ruled and knowledge was its zenith, came a rishi called Kashyapa. There are beautiful works that describe the greatness of this land. Some say it was revered as Kashyapa Vihara. So it was called Kashmira. There is a beautiful work called Rajatarangini by Kalhana that describes the legacy of the kings who have ruled that land. That said, Kashyapa was extremely attached to the land, and any charitram that we deal in Sanatana Dharma has to do with Kashyapa and his set of wives. So I keep telling people, do not ask why he was polygamous in nature. It could be a matter of concern, but to me, I was a worthless bauble in front of him for him to even ask my opinion of multiple marriages. So had he asked me of an opinion, I would have said no, he didn't ask me. So let's keep him as a polygamous person. A few lessons to be learned from him. That's where, let's keep it simple. That said, Kadru and Vinata, the wives of Kashyapa, they were very, very interested to have children, many in number, especially Kadru. So, Mahabharatam says that she produced many snakes. Kadru produced many snakes. This may arise a curiosity in all of us. How could humans, when they come together, produce snakes? It is absolutely tangential to our understanding of basic science. Please understand, Vyasacharya and Valmiki believed in many of us that we will be doing sufficient amount of homework while deciphering the passages of our scriptures. When you visit many of the houses, how many of you have pets at home? Cats, dogs? Don't look at each other. You're not pets. If you have pets, yeah. So there are pets. You know, people who nurture pets, when you visit their houses, I have made the grave mistake. I keep making it. And while I make that mistake, I often ask, is this your dog? They get offended. They say, that's my child. So to that couple who nurture a pet at home, they treat the pet as their own child. Will you ever ask, how did you two humans come together and produce a dog? The pet is adopted and treated as their child. Similarly, there were rishis who used to adopt animals around them in the vicinity and call them their children. Same is the case here. Kadru had many snakes. So those largely oviparous, the eggs have to hatch, the little ones have to come out. Vinata also had children, but they were birds. Let's keep that aside. There's something very interesting about these two sisters who were married to this person called Kashyapa, where Kadru hatched the plan. She thought, I must have somebody serve me. I must have a help. I am done with the lockdown periods. So I need help at home. So why should she go hire a person by paying a non-refundable deposit in a .com? Rather, she thought, why can't I make my own sisters subservient to me? That is when Kadru and Vinata, while they were carrying the soiled clothes to the close-by lake to get them washed, Kadru made an interesting note and she put forth this question to Vinata. Did you get to see a horse? That is when Vinata said, yes, I did see a horse. You remember what horse was it? Yeah, it was a white horse with a white tail. This remark of Vinata brought a retort from Kadru, who said, I don't think it was a white horse with a white tail. It was a white horse with a black tail. Vinata said, no, I am sure my eyes won't cheat me. It was a white horse with a white tail. Kadru said, then I challenge you. I'm sure the horse is going to trod the same place tomorrow. Let's see if it's a white horse with a white tail or a white horse with a black tail. What if it is a white horse with a black tail, Vinata? Vinata said, I don't know, Kadru. If it happens to be a white horse with a black tail, you shall be subservient to me and you shall serve me throughout your life. That's a bondage slavery. She said, deal. My eyes don't cheat me. That night, Kadru went to her children, the snakes. They were dark-hued snakes. She told them, go tie and twine yourself around each hair of the horse's tail of Uchchaishravas. Those snakes said, no, no, no. This is wrong. Now you may ask, if snakes can communicate, right? I'm sure people who have pets will surely know when your dog needs food, when your dog is upset with you. Is the dog speaking in Sanskritam with you? No. So treat animals' language is also a form of communication. Now, when those snakes refused to agree to the mother's ploy, which is Kadru's plot, that is when she said, Sarpa Satre Vartamani. Later at one stage when there is one descendant of Shantanu called Janamejaya who performs Sayagam called as Sarpa Satram, I curse that many of you, my children, will die into the blazing fire of that Yajnam Sarpa Satram. Now these children said, okay, we'll do what you say. But the curse is already pronounced. So these children go and tie themselves up to the tail, the hairs of the white Uchchaishravas. And this horse, when spotted the next day by Vinata and Kadru, gives a clear message that Kadru has won and Vinata has lost. So the deal was Vinata should serve her. But eventually Vinata's bondage extended to her children as well. Everything that I state now is very important for later slides. So she said, this bondage that you have will go to, that shall be bequeathed by your children as well. Vinata said yes. But then Vinata decided, let me not have so many children like what my sister Kadru has. Let me restrict it to 2. Nam iruvar, namak iruvar. So, now when there was a egg that was spotted in the nest, she ended up wanting to have birds as her children. So she prematurely goes and opens the egg, even before the stage had come where the chick could normally, naturally come out. She broke open the egg. This hasty decision of Vinata led to that bird not fully being developed. It was a partially developed, special abled child, which was the bird. And this bird was reddish. Its eyes were also reddish. It was extremely angry with the mother for having taken such a hasty decision. So the bird now curses the mother that you shall continue your days of slavery for many, many months to come. That said, that child later is offered job as the charioteer of Surya. Since he's red-hued, he's called Aruna. He becomes the charioteer, Sarathi, to the Rathi called Surya. Surya Ratham has one chakram called Sambatsaram. It is driven by 7 horses, and those 7 horses held by the reins by the Sarathi are representative of the chandas, the different prosodies that you find in Sanskritam like Gayatri, Ushnik, Trishtup, all these chandas are the 7 horses. This Aruna becomes the charioteer, the Sarathi to Surya Deva. Now, then comes the day where she waits for that moment when slowly the next egg can hatch, because she's already got one curse. She didn't want another one. So she patiently waited for the other one to hatch. And when that egg hatched, came one bird, looked left, right, did this and came out. And that was the bird which will later be called Garuda. He's Vinata Sutta. Vinata Sutta, Vainateya, these were the names. But over the period of time, he gets beautiful names. Now, how was this bird? Later we know him as Garuda. How was this bird's childhood? See, when we talk about Ramayanam, we keep discussing about Rama's childhood. Rama's childhood was not a one that you could run for pages together. He used to keep listening to his parents. If parents said stand, he would stand. Sit, sit. It took many, many years for him to get married. Though both of them may not seem connected, they are connected too. So, he took a lot of time. Whereas Krishna's childhood is filled with memories. Bhagavatam gives so much information about Krishna's childhood. We have heard a lot about Rama's childhood, Krishna's childhood. But here, what Vedanta Deshika brings to us is Garuda's childhood. So he says that the seas, the hills, and the stars were the ones with which Garuda used to play. We have heard of Krishna playing with butter, Rama playing with a bow. But the baby Garuda whom Vedanta Deshika depicts neither played with butter nor with a bow and arrow. He used to play. He used to go hit the stars. Like the bowling game, he used to put the stars and the stars used to be dispelled. So it may seem like an exaggeration, but this is how beautifully he depicts. Like how many of the surfaces of the mountains used to be broken, the waters used to rise, and the stars used to move hither and thither. So he brings the beauty of Garuda in a beautiful shloka. Kshunna kshoni dharani kshubita chatura kupara timyat garunti trutyanta rasarani sthaputita vibudha sthanakani kshipeyuhu patala brahma saudhavadhi vihita mudha vartananyasmadartim brahmanda syantarale brihati khagapater arbaka kriditani. Arbakaha, the little Garuda, Kriditani, he used to play with the stars, with the waters, and with the mountains. So as Garuda grew, he understood the situation of his mother. Because his mother used to do all the household work, Vinata used to do, and Kadru, his other mother, stepmother, was very calm and cool. The slavery with which Vinata was succumbed to extended to her children as well. One child went as a charioteer of Surya. The other one, Garuda, had to bear the brunt of all these snakes. So the snakes would say, I have to sit on your back, take me to another island. All this is mentioned in Mahabharata at the start. So Garuda was tired of doing all this work for the sons of Kadru. So at one point in time, he asked, what is that one way? Please tell me the way where I can rescue my dear mother Vinata from slavery. That is when Kadru said, if you manage to get the big pot of amritam, ambrosia, nectar, whichever way you call, from Indralokam, Indrapatnam, then probably I can think about excusing you and your mother from this bond of slavery. Garuda thought it's a great task. I will take this task upon me and I shall manage to fulfill this particular task. Now, as he takes leave of his mother, he says, Mother Vinata, I'm going to leave this place. I will go in search of Amritam. Bring that Amritam back. From then on, you don't have to wash at all. You don't have to worry at all. I as a son shall do this to you. Whatever I have spoken till now is there in Adi Parva of Mahabharata. Cut. Let me now do an Upanyasaka's job. I'll take you to another topic. In Srimad Ramayanam. In Srimad Ramayanam, there is a situation where Rama comes and informs his mother Kaushalya. Mother, I've been ordained to go to the forest. I have to go. I have to go for 14 years. So I take leave. Mother got very upset. She said, no, I can't let my dear son go like this. Have I been waiting for 17 years to see my son suffer? What she meant by 7, because Rama had completed 24 years and was turning 25. But why does she say 17? She counts the day of his Upanayanam as day 1. So he was 7. 7 plus 17 gives you that number, whatever we desire. So she says, for 17 years I've been waiting. Have I been waiting to see my son not take the Rajyam from his father and rather go spend and toil in the woods? She says, I can't let my son go. That is when Rama tries convincing, giving her, citing various references, telling that it is the duty of a son to listen to what the father has said. She said, I can't help. At that point in time, Lakshmana comes and says, I have a solution for this. I can go behead Kaikeyi. That is when Rama says, this is not a part of our civilization. So don't do this at all. She is a mother to you as much as she is to me. I have to listen to what the father has said. In that case, Sita comes and says, what should I be doing, Rama? Rama says, see, the command that I have got is to go to the forest for 14 years. I'm sure, Sita, you're my biggest companion. But here, I tell you, please stay back in Ayodhya. The world is very small. Technology will help us build bridges. Let's stay in touch. And moi. And as he said, Sita said, where are you keeping me? In Ayodhya with your mother? And I don't have a mother-in-law, I have mothers-in-law. And all of them are suffering from good health. I don't see the need to invite any priest in the nearest future. So I am not going to stay with her or them, I'm going to come with you. Then Rama says, well, if you're planning to come with me, it looks as if you're well prepared about this decision. She says, yes, I was married to you while I was 6. And while I was 6, I've heard a person who used to cite prophecies in Janakapatnam in Mithila state, Janaka, your daughter Sita will be spending many, many years in the forest. The day I heard this prophecy and the day I heard a foreteller look at my palmistry and tell that I'm going to spend many, many days in the forest, I'd kept my luggage packed. It was all said, see there. So Rama tried arguing with her. As usual, he couldn't win against Sita. He said, okay, join me. This situation where Sita and Rama managed to come out of the chamber is used effectively by Lakshmana, who prostrates at the couple's feet and says, Mata and Rama, I'm sure you will need help in the forest. Aham sarvam karishyami jagrataha svapataschate. I shall do all the household duties that a person is supposed to do. Sita, you can take absolute rest in the forest. It will be a resort-like life, hopefully, throughout the duration. He used the word hopefully because the 14th year was a disaster. And the movie that is made on it is a bigger one. So she said, well, Lakshmana wants to come, let him come. Now, as the three, Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana, they visit Kaushalya's chamber. And they say, Mata, we have to go now. We have to leave. That time, Kaushalya cites one shlokam. This shlokam comes in Ramayanam. Remember, I told you from the Mahabharatam narration that I was giving some time back, I said I'm going to divert myself to Ramayanam. Here is the verse. Yanmangalam suparnasya vinata akalpayat pura amritam prarthayanasya tatte bhavatu mangalam. The mother says, my dear son, you are going to the forest. Like how to relieve the mother from the clutches of slavery, Garuda, Vainateya, Suparna sought his mother's permission and said, I am leaving this place. And at that point in time,
Vinata said, my dear son, I bless you. Similarly, I am telling you, my son, when you're leaving to the forest, I am blessing you like how Vinata blessed her son Garuda. Remember, this shlokam comes in the Ramayanam. She says, Yan Mangalam Suparnasya. Mangalam is the important word here. She says, those verses which were cited and recited by Vinata to Garuda, I am reciting those verses to you now. You're getting that line. But what are those verses? We don't know. That is found in the Adi Parva of Mahabharatam. Now let's come back to Mahabharatam. Garuda goes and tells his mother, I have to go get that Amritam. That time Vinata tells, Pakshaute Marutav Patu, Chandra Suryaucha Prishtataha, Shirascha Patu Vanhiste. She recites these lines. Aham tache sadaputra putrakaryartha siddhaye. May you be successful, my son. May your wings be protected by Agni. May your tail be protected by Vayu. May your body be protected by Indra. Let all these deities give you an armor, a kavacham, while you are on your sojourn to get the Amritam. So the verses recited by Vinata as an armor, a kavacham, a protection, a shield, a what is a protective charm to her son is seen in Mahabharatam, and the reference to that is seen in Ramayanam. So this is how Ramayanam and Mahabharatam are interlinked. Now Garuda leaves that place. As he leaves, he asks his father. See, Vibhavavataram Garuda is 100% non-vegetarian Garuda. Garuda in Vibhavavataram, in Archavataram, in the temple, he is absolutely vegetarian. He consumes puliyodare, curd rice, vadai, all this Archavataram Garuda will consume. Vibhavavataram, when he was there as a real bird, he is 100% non-vegetarian. So he went and asked his father, Father, I am extremely hungry. Where should I go seek food? The father said, as you take your journey to Amaravati, the place where Indra resides and supposedly where Amritam is, you shall see a lake, and by the banks of the lake there will be two things fighting with each other. One is a tortoise, the other is a baby elephant. Both of them in their previous janmas were two brothers called Supratika and Vibhavasu. So they had a quarrel over property fight. So each of them cursed each other. One said, you shall become a tortoise. The other one said, you shall become the elephant. And the beauty is, those brothers who cursed each other were born in the same neighborhood. That's a bigger curse. And they continued fighting. So if people are fighting, it doesn't mean it is just of this janma. Maybe people have been fighting over janmas. So Garuda says, okay, what should I do with them? If they continue fighting, they are a big menace to the flora and the fauna. Consume them. The father says, eat them up. So Garuda says, see, now my father himself has said that I shouldn't be sparing the life of the tortoise and the elephant, so I shall go. So this consumption of Garuda, holding the elephant, remember, if he has to hold the elephant and the tortoise, what must be the size of Garuda? He has to hold the elephant and the tortoise. And as he held them, the tortoise and the elephant continued fighting even while they were held. Don't forget that. So they were still fighting. They were not cognizant that somebody was catching them with their claws. So as they were being carried, Garuda thought, let me take some rest. As he rested in one of those large banyan trees, I'm sure close to Bangalore there's something called Big Banyan Tree. There's a huge banyan tree in Kolkata. There's a banyan tree that you find in the Theosophical Society, one in Kalakshetra campus, huge ones. So in one of the branches of the banyan tree, Garuda happens to go and sit. The rishis then say, the rishis who were performing penance by holding the branch upside down. The branch was there. They were upside down and performing yoga and penance. That is called Valakhilyasana. Remember, even today, if you do that kind of posture, it is called Valakhilyasana. Now that we are very close to the yoga day, we should know there is an asana called Valakilyasana. These rishis, very, very small in size, who were hanging from the branch of the banyan tree, who were inversed and were performing this asana, were called Valakilyas. So these Valakilyas, many number, they were spread on the branch of the banyan tree and they were performing the penance. Now when Garuda by mistake went and sat on that branch, the branch broke with the Valakilyas. Valakilyas were not perturbed at all. They said, we have to accept death the way it is. But Garuda thought, I shouldn't be hurting them. So Garuda held the branch in his mouth so that he can protect the Valakilyas from falling onto the bhumi. And then he held the tortoise and the elephant. Where is this found? This is found on one of the walls of the Tirukkurungudi temple south of Tirunelveli. If you go near the Gopuram, atop it is this depiction. See, the sculptors and the supervisor of the sculptors had to, in those days, necessarily undergo good training in our itihasas and puranas. They could not just come up with anything and then say, I thought this is a very good design. They will have to come up with justifiable, very, very reliable, relatable, comprehensible references of our Puranas and then depict them on the wall. So if you see Garuda, Garuda holds the branch of the tree, and can you see the inverted Maharishis, their heads here? These are the Valakilyas. Now for you, Mindful Insights Mani has put this on a 20 feet by 10 feet screen. This sculpture in that wall of the Gopuram is barely a few inches. So this has been expanded. So if you ask me that the resolution could have been better, I wish I had the address of the sculptor. Now, this is the same depiction of Garuda holding the tortoise and the elephant and the branch and the Valakilyas. And trust me, where this comes from? This is a depiction from the Persian version of the Mahabharata. So in Iran is this depiction of what Valakilyas were. Now, all this that I have cited from the Mahabharata comes in the form of a beautiful verse by a person whom I have loved and revered throughout my life and will continue falling in love with. His name is Vedanta Deshika. He says, Sandra Krodhanubandhat Sarasi Nakha Muke Padape Gandashaile Tundagre Kantarandre Tadanucha Jatare Nirvishesham Yuyutsu Avyad Asmad Abhavyad Vidita Nakhara Shreni Damshtrabhigatau Jivagraham Grihitva Kamatha Karatino Bhakshayan Pakshimallaha. Bhakshayan, he ate. Who? Pakshimallaha, the strongest of the birds. What did he eat? Grihitva Kamatha Karatino. He ate the tortoise and the elephant. Now what did he do after that? Big question. I will cite one. What I thought was, at one point in time today, while there is a genuine quest and a thirst for quintessential knowledge, there is also one set of people who keep questioning. Let me not get into critiquing or criticizing about people who ask questions, because they know if at all there is one civilization where we can decently, indecently, respectfully, less respectfully ask questions, this is the only civilization. No other civilization is going to let them ask questions. So giving them that liberty, let us take it on a positive note. Some people do ask questions. If the bird can hold that much of weight, the bird in its claws can hold that much of weight. I don't know how big the Garuda of Mahabharatam was, but the acharyas who have given me the knowledge of searching and understanding YouTube videos have found something very interesting for us. What I've done is I have posted the background music from one of the movies where I could play a tiny role called Vedanta Deshika. See what the bird can lift.
गरुडमखिल वेदनीडाधिरूढं विषत्पीडनोत्कण्ठिता कुण्ठवैकुण्ठपीठीकृतस्कन्धमीडे स्वनीडागतिप्रीतरुद्र सुकीर्तिस्तना भोगगाढोपगूढ स्फुरत्कण्ठतौ व्रातवेधौ यथा वेपमानद्विजिह्वाधिपाकल्पविस्फार्यमाणस्फटावाटिकारत्नरोचिष्ठटा राजिनी राजितं कान्तिकल्लोलिनि राजितम् जय गरुड सुपर्ण गर्वीकराहार देवाधिपाहार हारिन्दिवौकस्पति क्षिप्तदम्भोळिधाराकिना कल्पकल्पान्तवातूल कल्पोदयानल्पवीरायितोद्यच्चमत्कार दैत्यारि चैत्रध्वजारोह निर्धारितोत्कर्ष सङ्कर्षणाद्मङ्गरुत्मन्मरुत्पञ्चकाधीश सत्यादिमूर्तेन कश्चित् समस्ते नमस्ते पुनस्ते नमः नम इदमजः च पर्याय पर्याय निर्यात पक्षानिलास्फालनोद्वेलपाथोऽधिवीची च पेटाहता गाधपाताळभाङ्कार सङ्कृत नागेन्द्र पीडा श्रीणी भावभास्वन्नकश्रेण ये चण्डतुण्डाय नृत्यद्भुचण्ड ब्रुवे वज्रिणे दंशया दुःखमध्यात्मविद्या विधेया विधेय भवद्दास्य मापादयेथादयेथाश्च मे मणुरनुगतपक्षिवक्त्र स्फुरत्तारकस्तावकश्चित्रभानुप्रिय शेखरस्रायतां नस्त्रिवर्गापवर्ग प्रसूतिः परं व्योमधामन्मल द्वेषिदर्भज्वल ज्वालकिल्य प्रतिज्ञावतीर्ण स्थिरां तत्त्वबुद्धिं परां भक्तिदेनु जगन्मूलकन्दे मुकुन्दे महानन्ददोघ्रीं दधीता मुधा कामहीनां महीना महीनास्तक
So, see, this depiction is not to bring some excitement, but the point that I'm trying to make is we have references to the Mahabharata verses. If people ask for citations and references and inscriptions, we have them for many, many millennia before. And Vyasacharya must have been such a very good observer of things of the flora and the fauna that have happened around him, that he knew how to confirm that birds could lift such heavy objects. Could you ever think that a good, well-developed goat, fox, they are all lifted just in those two claws. So, if this small a bird could lift that, I'm sure he could have lifted a baby elephant and a tortoise too. That's it. Now, what did he do after that? So, that consumption was over, that breakfast part was over. Now, after that, he had to continue his journey. Before that, I'm sure many of you will have children, grandchildren who are all fans of Neo books. So, I feel our civilization directly and indirectly has been an inspiration to many, many, many other civilizations and books. It has traveled the seas, it has gone to other continents and has come to us back in a different way where we are not aware it may have had a chance of going from here. Here is going to be two scenes that I show from a book that I used to wait in the British Library outside in Bangalore for to get the first copy of the book, Harry Potter. So in the second book called The Chamber of Secrets, when Harry goes to the Sarsa Slytherin's chamber, where he's to be taken by the Bellatrix.
what is the snake's name? Basilisk. So in Basilisk, so what he does is while he's about to die, and many of them were caught in the chamber of the secret, that is when there is a bird which is supposedly the pet bird of Dumbledore that comes and carries them. That is called the fox. And then in book number 5, which is the Order of Phoenix, we get to see when Dumbledore is to be arrested, the bird carries him. So I'm not attributing or trying to say that J.K. Rowling must have sat through one of the Garuda Upakhyanam lectures given by Anantarama Dikshitar and Astika Samajam. But what I'm trying to say is the ideas of Mahabharata must have traveled in the last 2000 years to various civilizations and must have given ideas to other poets. If you go ask her about Garuda, she may not know. But if you ask her where you got this idea from, maybe she'll say, I got it from Greek civilization. And Greeks were called Yavanas. And Yavana had a person called Kala Yavana, who was the coalition partner of Jarasandha when he fought Krishna in Mahabharata times. So there has always been a connection. So just see what our great directors have to say. To the minister that Dumbledore has got style, I would rather keep it this way. Garuda has a style. So when Garuda took all of them, carried, ate them, then he has to go to the Pattinam, the city of Indra. There he goes and fights with Indra and gets that Amrita Kalasham. So this Amrita Kalasham and Garuda go very hand in hand. So there is a depiction that you can see here. He is the Amrita Kalasha Garuda. That is shown in a painting. Is there a living sanctum sanctorum to him? Yes. In Sri Rangam, when you get through the Rangaranga Gopuram, you take left, you will have Amrita Kalasha Garuda Sannidhi. So this is how he looks. Now, when he fought Indra and the other deities in Amaravati Patnam and got the Amrita Kalasham, we need to commemorate his victory. Where do we go for Amrita Kalasham? So we have wonderful kitchens that make a prasadam called Amrita Kalasham for Garuda. How many of you have tasted Amrita Kalasha prasadam? One there. Okay, I'll give you the recipe. So you take moong dal, paitambarpu, and you'll have to steam it well. Give about 4-5 sounds. I don't know about the Insta pot, how it works. But trusting it's a good cooker, a well-performing cooker with none of its capillaries of arteries blocked. Then 4-5 sounds will suffice, and then you mash the dal and then keep the vellapaga separate. Don't give it to 2 strings, then it will become manoharam. Just 1 string will do. And then add this vellapaga, this concoction made of jaggery, to the mashed moong dal and mix it well so that it doesn't become a very, very loose paste. It has to be thick like chapati mavu. Then make balls of it. You can add cardamom or you can add little ghee and then make balls of it and steam it. So that is called as Amrita Kalasham. Okay, now I have to say I hope I don't get into any of the copyright problems. It is from Shanti Taligai. So then as he brings the Amrita Kalasham out to release and relieve his mother from the bonds of slavery, he's out. As he gets out of the Amaravati Patnam, he sees someone extremely handsome. He sees that person as a personification of spotless, blemishless beauty. Every part of this person is worth a poem. He sees beauty personified right in front of him. And he asks, "You look extremely handsome, sir. I wish I could grant a boon to you. Ask what you want." That person who was standing opposite said, "I wish to say the same thing to you. You too look extremely valorous, brimming with prowess, very, very, very powerful. I wish to give one boon to you." So each of them had one boon in their hand. That is when Garuda said, "I should always be atop you. If you're there, I should be above you." The person opposite said, "Okay, it's time for me to ask for a boon. You should always be below me. And Garuda said, okay, done. After he said done, he realized how could one person be both up and down. The person who was standing opposite him was Sriman Narayana. So he said, don't worry, Garuda. Below me, you shall be my vehicle. Above me, you shall be the emblem on my flag. Garuda Dhvaja Toshaya Gito Garuda Dandakaha. Above me, you are the emblem. Below me, you are my vehicle. Okay. There's a pertinent question here. Well, they granted boon to each other. But the Lord appeared in front of Garuda, right? On what did he come? Nadande vanduttar, sir. Ola. Ola. That Ola who doesn't accept Ola money and accepts only in cash. So, now please remember, water exists in three states. Solid as ice, liquid in its very own state, and as vapor in its gaseous state. Each of these states of water is called as Nilai in Tamil. Similarly, Parabrahmam is also like water. You may say, how are you comparing water with Parabrahmam? Remember, when in Ramayanam, Dasharatha asks, is my son worthy to become my heir apparent? Every father who anoints his son as the successor should check if the son is worthy enough. So Dasharatha did in those days. Though it was largely called a dynasty, there was democracy then too. So he asked, is my son Rama capable of becoming the heir apparent? That time, Vasishtha says yes. What did Vasishtha reply? Kamban tells in Kambaramayanam, Unnum Neerinum Avanaye Uhappar. People love him more than the water that they drink. Why? Because water has many attributes of Paramatma. If Paramatma's daya flows from the higher level to lower level, so does water flow from higher level to lower level. Paramatma fits himself in any house, in any suitcase, in any temple, like how water fits itself into the container. So there are many, many attributes. So that said, there are many states of Paramatma, like how water has solid state, liquid state and gaseous state. See, if you travel by any of these airlines, they will ask you, water, sir? Sparkling water? And do I put some ice cubes? So, ice cube, solid, can exist along the liquid state. So, two states of the same H2O can exist together. Similarly, there are 5 states of Paramatma. Para, Vyuha, Vibhava, Antaryami, Archa. Para state is where he is in Sri Vaikuntham as Paravasudeva. Vyuha is where he gets into all these functions like creation, sustenance and dissolution, like spa. Have you heard of spa? Sankarshana Pradyumna Aniruddha. S-P-A. These are the Vyuha states. Now, in that state, he exists as Vyuha Murti. Paravasudeva, Vyuha Murti. Third is when he is born, he grows, is nourished, nurtured, lives, and then goes back to his abode. That is called as Vibhava Avataram. Rama Krishna, the Avataram, is called Vibhavam. Fourth, where he stays within each of us as the Antaryami, Hardam. The last state is that of where he gives a beautiful darshanam to his devotees across various temples, beginning with Sri Guruvayur, Tiruvananthapuram, Tiruvallikeni, Sri Rangam, Kanchipuram, Pullambudangudi, Adanur, Simhachalam, Ahobilam, Yadavadri, and so on. It's called Archavataram. Like how solid state and liquid state of water can exist together, Vibhavavataram and Archavataram can exist together. Rama, who is Vibhavavataram, worshipped Ranganatha, who is Archavataram. Krishna, who is Vibhavavataram, worshipped Guruvayurappa, who is Archavataram. So you see 2 states existing together. Similarly, Garuda also has 5 states. The Garuda who was born to Vinata was the Vibhavavataram of original Garuda. The original Garuda is always there carrying the Lord. Now you may wonder, sir, didn't this Garuda spot the other? Correct. This Garuda should have said, who is the one who's just resembling me? Why couldn't he see? The answer lies in J.K. Rowling's third book called as The Prisoner of Azkaban. So, I keep telling, there are many ideas that have gone from our country through civilizations which come back. So, Harry thinks that there is some animal that is protecting him. But it was actually he who was protecting himself. So you can't see in Vibhavavataram the para state. So Garuda couldn't see the other Garuda, but there was another Garuda there. So the question is, how did the Lord come here? He came on Garuda, but that Garuda was state one Garuda, para swarupam of Garuda. And the Garuda who was opposite the Lord was the Vibhavavataram of Garuda. Got it? Now, Vedanta Deshika puts this into a beautiful shloka. He says, Yoyam dhatte svanishtham vahanamapi varaha sparshito yena yasmai yasmad yasyahava shrir vidadhati bhajanam yatra yatreti santaha prayo devassa itham harigaruda bhida kalpita rohavaha swabhavya swatma bhavyaha pradishatu shakunir brahma sa brahmatamnaha. So whatever I've spoken of the Lord granting a boon, Garuda granting a boon in return, Garuda telling I shall be below you as the vehicle, the Lord asking Garuda to be atop the flag as the emblem is mentioned in this shloka. Now, we are going to go to why is Garuda Upakhyanam mentioned in Mahabharatam. Mahabharatam should talk about Pandavas, the sons of Dhritarashtra called Dhartarashtras, the tussle that existed between the Pandavas and the Kauravas and how there was a war between them. This is the Katha Bhagam. Why should Garuda story feature here? Right? Isn't it, if irrelevance is a part of the book, wouldn't somebody think of my Upanyasam where you may think, why is he telling this story here? Why should Vyasa also do the same mistake of Dushyant? Why is he digressing? Vyasa does it with a purpose. Kashyapa, in Aruna Prashnam it is said, Pashyakaha Kashyapo Bhavati. Pashyaka, the one who could see, but just not see, foresee. So you see, I see what is there. What do I foresee? That if I continue this lecture for more than 25 minutes, people will fall asleep. So I see and I foresee. That is why he was called Kashyapa. Why is Kashyapa mentioned in Mahabharatam? Because Vyasa knew there will be an exact opposite person to Kashyapa called as Dhritarashtra, who could neither see nor foresee. Had he foreseen, he would have not let his sons humiliate his own daughter-in-law in the middle of the court. But he was extremely happy that his daughter-in-law is getting humiliated. He didn't foresee the destruction, the calamity, the disaster that was to strike the heads of his very own sons. He could neither see nor foresee. In the Pasuram for Thiruvallikeni, Tirumangayalvar, Virpena Velavum, Kanjanum Mallum, he says, Andhakan Sirvan. Andhakan is the name of Dhritarashtra. Andhakan, he couldn't see. Andhakan, he didn't see, but Vedanta Deshika says, not seeing is not his mistake. But why he was a disaster was, he was just not blind externally, he was blind internally too. So, Kashyapa's Charitram is mentioned in the start of Mahabharatam because he was a person who could see and foresee. Dhritarashtra could neither see nor foresee. Next, why is this mentioned? Kadru cheats Vinata. Correct? She cheats with her sons. She says, my dear black-hued sons, go and tie. It was not a fair battle. She wanted to cheat Vinata. So she used her own sons to cheat Vinata. Correct. You see here, in the scene of gambling, the sons of Dhritarashtra cheat the sons of Pandu by not fighting them directly, but by asking their uncle Shakuni to fight on their behalf. It was not right. So this was cheating. Next, Vinata's son, who's Garuda, finally says, I have to release you from slavery. What should I do? He decides to release his mother from slavery by fighting Indra and bringing Amrita. You will remember during the Dyuta Krida, the Pandavas had become slaves of the sons of Dhritarashtra. It was Draupadi who released them temporarily, but that the temporary release from slavery from the hands of the clutches of the Kauravas to the Pandavas was not sufficient for her. She said that I need a permanent release from these sons of Dhritarashtra, oh my dear Pandavas, for which here came the Geetamritam. There Vinata's son brought Amrita. Here Vishnu gave Geetamrita. Sarvopanishado gavaha dugdha gopalanandanaha partho vatsaha sudhir bhokta dugdham Geetamritam mahat. So there Garuda brought Amrita. Here Vishnu gave Geetamrita. There Vinata's son Garuda fought Indra. Here Krishna fought the Kauravas with Indra's son Arjuna. Do you see the connection? Next. If you see the next part, Garuda fights the snakes. Correct? The sons of Kadru were the snakes. Garuda, Vinata's son, fights the snakes. You remember what is the emblem of Duryodhana? Snake. And if you see, Garuda fights Indra. But here, do you see the horse? The horse, ideally what should have been there? Garuda should have been there. But Garuda you cannot use technically Garuda in the Yuddham. So he had to use horses. So Garuda could have been on the emblem. Correct? But what was there in the emblem when Arjuna fought? Hanuman. Now where will Garuda go? Where Periyalvar states that Garuda was housing himself within the horses. Meimei peruvartai vittu chittar kettirpar tammai uhapparai tamuhappar ennum sol. So Garuda was found within the horses. Do you see so many connections of the later Mahabharata with Garuda Upakhyanam? Why did Vyasacharya narrate? Because before you narrate one big kavyam called Mahabharatam, you have to give the executive summary of that kavyam through one slide. So all those parvas of Mahabharatam, the Yuddham between Pandavas and the Kauravas, the Geetamritam coming, the cheating, the gambling, was all put in a nutshell as Garuda Upakhyanam, as a Mini-MAHABHARATAM by Vyasa. So Garuda Upakhyanam is the Mini-MAHABHARATAM. So if I tell you have to listen to Mahabharatam, you have to listen for years together. But what you have listened now is a Mini-MAHABHARATAM. That's said. Now, this is Surya. And Aruna, who's the first son of Vinata and Kashyapa, is the Sarathi. Now, what do we say every day? Dhyaya Sada Savitri Mandala Madhyavarti. Within the sun, everybody, whoever has the time to perform Sandhya Vandanam, what you do is you take that water and pour. You say, inside the sun is housed Narayana. So the external part is the sun, and for Surya, the Sarathi is Aruna. Now, who is housed within the sun? Narayana. And who is the Sarathi? Garuda. So the elder brother and the younger brother are housed within two concentric circles called Surya and Narayana. Now, this connection is brought to us in the form of a beautiful verse from a work of the 7th century called as Surya Shatakam. Surya Shatakam is by a Kavi called, any guesses? Very good, Mayura Kavi. So Mayura Kavi drafted the set of 100 verses on Surya for getting cured of eye problems. So this has been put forth in a beautiful shloka. Prakkalo nidra padmakara parimalanabhir bhavat padashobho bhaktya tyaktoru khedod gati divi vinata sununa niyamanaha saptashvapta parantanyadhikamadharanyo jaganti stutolam devair devassa payad apara iva murari ahintam patirvaha. So here, this is a verse from Surya Shatakam. Now this form of Garuda, while I went to Seattle, one of my very good friends called Jayashri has painted this Garuda in Seattle. What has she done is to paint Garuda the way Vedanta Deshika and the Vedas have praised. Garuda is seen as the quintessence of Vedic teachings. Remember, That is why in any Samprokshanam or Kumbhabhishekam, after you have recited the Vedas and you take the Vedic waters to the Kalasham and you pour over it, immediately people will look to the sky and check if Garuda is there. Because Garuda is seen as the essence of Vedic teachings. Now, what does he signify? Vedanta Deshika states this. Netram Gayatramuche. Now, the eyes of Garuda represent Gayatri Mantram, it seems. So, what she has done is, this is a very low resolution pic of it. If you zoom the eyes, you will see the Gayatri Mantram written within it. Netram Gayatramuche Trivriditi Chashiro Namadheyam Yajumshi. Chandam Syangani Dishnatma Bhirajani Shaphair Vigraho Vamadevyam. Yasya Stomatmanosau Brihaditara Garut Tadrisham Nata Puchaha Swachandhyam Nafprasutam Shruti Shata Shikara Bhishtutatma Garutman. What does Garuda signify? The Atma of Garuda is Samavedam, it seems. That is why in Bhagavatam, when the Lord appears on Garuda before Kardama Prajapati, the verse says, Stomam Udirna Sama. When Garuda was flying, they could hear Samavedam, it seems. So the Atma of Garuda is Samavedam. What is the body of Garuda? Vamadevyam. What does the name of Garuda signify? It signifies Yajurvedam. What does the head of Garuda represent? Trivit Mantra. His eyes, Gayatri Mantra. Wings, Brihat and Rathantra. Limbs, Chandas. The claws, Dhishnya Vedika. And tail is Yajna Yajnam. Says Vedanta Deshika. Now, there is another message. If you have seen many of the Vishnu temples, in the Brahmotsavam, there is one day called as Garuda Sevai. When Muthuswami Dikshitar visited Kanchipuram and wanted to take a glimpse of the Lord, he went on the day of Garuda Sevai. Kalido Shahara Tirtha Prabhava Guru Guhadinatam Kapila Shukadi Sannuta Garuda Vahadirudham Varada Raja Mupasmahe Vanaja Sanadi Pujitam. Why is Garuda Sevai so important? Here, we need to understand there are 4 sections, parts to every Veda. There is Brahmanam, Aranyakam, Samhita. These are the 3 portions of Vedas. The 4th part is Upanishad. So there are 4 parts, Brahmanam, Aranyakam, Samhita and Upanishad. Sir, you're saying there are 4 parts. Why have you put so much of gap between these 3 and the 4th one? There is a reason. These 3 talk about a lot of karma, activities. They say venerate Paramatma through this particular ritual. Venerate the Parabrahmam using this particular yagam. So it becomes a karma. So I reach Paramatma through Agni. I reach Paramatma through Varuna. I see Paramatma through Indra. I see Paramatma through Rudra. So these are all the deities through whom I see Paramatma. Since they signify karma, these 3 together are referred to as Karma Kandam. Brahmanam, Aranyakam and Samhita. Now as I keep doing these yajnas, my desire is to understand and meditate upon Parabrahmam, which is Paramatma. Which is that portion that signifies the Paramatma? That is the Jnana Kandam, which is the Upanishad. Now, if you see this Karma Kandam, which is the Vedic injunctions, is represented as Garuda. The Jnana Kandam is represented by Parabrahmam. So when you see Vishnu on Garuda, it means you are seeing Vedam together. Karma Kandam and Jnana Kandam. Shruti, Shirasi. This is Shruti, Vedam. Shirasi, its crown, is Vedanta. Vidipte Brahmani Srinivase. So Garuda Sevai literally brings in front of our eyes Karma Kandam and Jnana Kandam together. That's it. Where else do we find Garuda? When the elephant was crying for help, when one of its limbs was caught in the strong and virulent jaws of the crocodile, the Lord appeared on Garuda. Even in the Thiruvallikeni Pasuram, we get Pulvoorndu Sendru. So when you see Gajendra Varada Sannidhi in Tiruvallikeni, you will see the Lord seated on Garuda. So in our Puranas, Garuda becomes in a way identity to the Lord. Where else do we see him? When Dhruva Charitram, when Dhruva is blessed by the Lord comes over Garuda. Where else? In Ramayanam, where Rama at every point in time says that I'm a normal human being, there's something and certain situations that go beyond his control. When Rama and Lakshmana were tied by Nagapasham in Lanka, when the first time they are tied, Garuda himself comes and rescues them from Nagapasham. Next, when Krishna was carried under the shade of the 1,000-hooded, white-hued Adisesha from Mathura to Gokulam, crossing the swelling waters of the Yamuna river by Vasudeva, we see above the Adisesha, there was somebody else who was guiding him and covering him. That is Garuda. Do you see a bird at the end of it? Do you see here? So, Shrutimayo iti pannagaha, says Vedanta Deshika. Now, when there was no person available to guide Garuda on his way to Pragjyotishapuram, which some say is Assam and some people say is the current day Thailand. Because Naraka ruled a city called Pragjyotishapuram. Pragjyotis means where the light keeps burning, which means that could have been the place where active volcanoes were found. So there are 2-3 active volcanoes found in Thailand, and in earlier maps, Thailand is called by the name Dwaravati. When there is when the magma pushes itself up. See, we need to understand a lot of these events from the cosmic angle. We have heard of Shiva being a Tripurantaka. Namaste astu bhagavan Vishweshwaraya Mahadevaya Trayambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikagnikalaya Tripurantaka, Tripura Samharam. Very important. When Hanuman burns Lanka, Valmiki says like how Rudramurti burnt Tripuras, Hanuman burnt Lanka. So there is reference, and one of the Nayanmar says, Sirittavan Yerittan. When Lord Shiva burnt Tripurams, he gave a smile. It was not as if he was tensed. He smiled and burnt Tripurams, it seems. Now coming to Tripuram, what does that signify? We see 3 elements in Tripuram: gold, silver, and iron. 3 fortresses. So if you look at the surface of earth, it is flat, and there is a volcano above it, and when the force comes, the magma, the lava pushes itself up like this. So if you see this, and this, doesn't this remind you of the arrow being shot from a bow? So there is a lake called the Toba Lake, which is found in the Southeast Asian country, where you find that a big catastrophe has struck at one point in time many millennia ago, where the volcano pushed itself and those minerals of gold, silver and iron were thrown out. So this must have been the place where Tripura Samharam must have happened. So we have to relate it in a cosmic manner. Similarly, this Pragjyotishapuram, some scholars, one of the scholars, a good friend Jayashree Saranathan opines that it must be Thailand. So that is why Krishna shifted took the Garuda from Gujarat and had to go to Dwaravati, which is Thailand, and fight Narakasura, and he had trafficked many innocent women and bring them back to Gujarat. So in that due process, he says, who is going to take me to Pragjyotishapuram? Satyabhama says, don't worry, I know how to guide. I've done good courses in ornithology. I can manage your Garuda. Give me the chance. So both of them take Garuda and go there. Interestingly, the first time I went to the US, I said they were so fast, they took Garuda Vega. People looked at each other. There's a courier service called Garuda Vega. So I was not aware of it, and even probably Garuda was not aware of it. So this is the large Garuda that you see when you enter Srirangam premises. Everything about Srirangam is huge. Next, even before I go to this Garuda, there is one Garuda that I wish to ask, where his wings are not open, they are folded. Where is he? Srivilliputtur, it's still open. No. Oh, wow. The next picture was not the answer to that question. Somebody said? No. Have you visited the Vaikuntha Perumal temple in Mangadu? In Mangadu, the wings are folded because the marriage of Kamakshi with Shiva didn't happen in Mangadu. It was postponed for some reason. So Vishnu said, Garuda, you have to take some rest, fold your wings and sit here. When we are called, we'll go. So his wings are folded. So it is there in Mangadu. Now let's come to this. Okay. So this is a unique Garuda in Tirunarayur called Nachiyar Kovil, where the Vahanam is not made of wood. It is made of stone. He's called Kal Garudan. The greatness of Kal Garudan is, this is one of the temples constructed by Kochenganan Cholan. Kochenganan was a great Shiva devotee. His eyes were reddened. And Tirumangayalvar says, Yendol Isharku, Yentol Isharku, to that Shiva who has 8 hands. Tirumangayalvar says, Yentol Isharku. Now we'll have a question. Sir, Shiva has 8 hands and Tirumangayalvar says, it doesn't stop here. Paramacharya Mahaprabhu was so inspired of Tirumangayalvar's Pasuram that he ordered his Tapati to make a Nataraja Murti with 8 hands in Dantam and keep it in the Matham. So Tirumangayalvar's Pasuram inspired Paramacharya to make a Shiva statue. All these 3 come together. Imagine. Now, in Nachiyar Kovil, the style of the temple is Mani-MAHABHARATA Kovil. Because Kochenganan Cholan's architecture style was when you stand outside the temple, I should see the Lord at an elevated place. Do you see most of the auditoriums, if you go to the auditoriums, if you have to watch a dance, you cannot watch it on a flat platform. It has to come gradually down. So this Mani-MAHABHARATA Kovil, you have to walk, take 4 steps, walk, take 4 steps, walk. It is called Mani-MAHABHARATA Kovil. So he constructed in that style. All of them were Shiva temples, and the last one was Nachiyar Kovil, which was a Vishnu temple. Kochenganan Cholan tells that. So when Garuda is brought from the Garbhagraham for the first 4 steps, 4 people carry him. Then he becomes slightly heavier. 8, 16, 32, 64. And when he gets out of the temple, 128 people have to carry him. He's so heavy. Then as he gets back to the pavilion, which is his Garbhagraham, he gets so excited that he starts losing body weight. Even without going on a keto, even without making a paneer into a tofu, even without converting one of the A2 milk into almond and soya, he loses weight. That's the greatness of him. So 128 becomes 64, 64 becomes 32, 32 becomes 16, 16 becomes 8, 8 becomes 4. So that's the greatness of Garuda here. And the beauty about Garuda is he carries all the snakes as his ornaments. If you go look at his ears, they are not the gold. There are 2 snakes here. His necklace is a snake. His girdle is a snake. His janeyu, punal is a snake. His armlets are snakes. So you have close to 9 snakes that he is adorned with. This is Kal Garudan. And interestingly, you know something about Kal Garudan. When my Acharya, Karunakara Acharya, at one point in time had an accident with respect to his eye. His father, who was an Ashu Kavi, wrote 100 shlokas on Kal Garudan called Kshemakari Shatakam. Not everyone is blessed to have a father like that, right? Suppose if I feel not so good today, my father can just pray. He cannot write 100 shlokas. Forget about composing. I don't think he can even recite. But here I had my Pracharya who wrote 100 shlokas called Kshemakari Shatakam for his son to get cured of the eye accident that he had faced. So this is Kal Garudan. Next. Can anyone guess where this Garudan is? Very good. Tiruvelliyangudi Garuda has Shankam and Chakram. Because the Lord there said, I am too tired carrying all these ayudhams. You go carry it, and gave it to Garuda. There is one place, like how in Shiva Kshetrams you have a Tirupungur. Vazhimarai tirukkude malai pole oru மாடு படுத்திருக்குதே. Gopalakrishna Bharati says how Nandanar said, here is one big bull, because of which I am not able to have a glimpse of you, my dear Mahadeva. Can you please ask this bull, big bull of yours, to slightly move? So Tirupungur in Shiva Kshetrams is a place where Nandi is not aligned in one line with the main deity of the Sanctum Sanctorum. He moves away. There is one Kshetram where Garuda is not aligned in the same line. Any guesses? Very good. Tenthirupperai. In Tenthirupperai, which is one of the Navatiruppadis, the Lord is called Makara Nedunkulai Kadan. If you've been hunting for a good name for your prospect grandson, keep this. Makara Nedunkulai Kadan. The one who has got, in Madurai and Tirunelveli, they have huge earrings. So the hole becomes so huge. So two dazzling, resplendent fish-like earrings float below the ears of the Lord. Makara Nedunkulai Kadan. So there, Tenthirupperai is extremely beautiful because you have many Purva Shikhas in that Gramam. So those children were playing while reciting Vedam. They were playing as they were reciting Vedam. Playfully they were reciting while they were playing. So the Lord wanted to have a glimpse of these children. So he said, Garuda, you're standing in the middle. Could you please move that side? Pillai Velayaattoliyum. Immediately Garuda moved. So in Tenthirupperai, he is not in one line along the Garbhagraham. This is another Garuda of Srivilliputturu. You don't see him opposite the Lord. You see him alongside the Lord. Why? Because the Lord thought he has to respect his father-in-law, because his father-in-law Periyalvar is the Amsham of Garuda. So the father-in-law said, I got my daughter married to you in Srirangam. I gave her in Chola Desham. I have come back to Pandya Desham. I can't stay without my daughter. I'll give you place. Please don't mind when people have to make sly remarks about you staying in your father-in-law's house. I don't mind. I know you don't have much of your salt in Uppaliyappan Kovil. Continue the same here. Stay with me. And that is a place where Garuda stays alongside Andal and Rangamannar. There is another temple here. Can you guess who these are? Kannadadavaru idara illi? Kannada. ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆನೇ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ, ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಡಿ. அப்பாடி, அது கன்னடான்னு விட்டா நமக்கு ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனையே இல்லை இல்லையா? காவேரி போது மட்டும்தான் கேட்போம். நோ. First you tell me who these people are. Okay. These are the wives of Garuda. Rudra and Sukirti. Rudra Sukirti stana bhoga gadopa gudas purat kanta kavrata vedavyatha ve. Rudra and Sukirti. So it is a Bindigavale village very close to Mysuru, where you have these Utsava Murtis of Garuda's wives. So that's very unique. You don't have it in any other temple. The wives of Garuda are called Rudra and Sukirti. Now, this is called Garuda Gati Bandham. See, you have many meters in which you can compose poetry. Vedanta Deshika, in a span of 3 hours, 180 minutes, 12 minutes more than PS2 and Bahubali 1. In 180 minutes, he composed 1008 verses. I still wonder if we Bharatiyas have been so bad at marketing. If this is not a wonder, do you think a building which was constructed and started leaning from the day it was built and has not fallen on ground is a world's wonder? A building has not fallen, it's been leaning from the day one, that becomes a wonder. A person who has composed 1008 verses on a terse topic like Padukas in 180 minutes, We barely even speak. In those 1008 verses, the 30th chapter is called Chitra Paddhati, the poetry of imagery. In one of those verses, it is called Garuda Gati Bandham. So Vedanta Deshika uses the velocity at which the bird flies. See, the bird won't fly point A to point B like this. It isn't a four-wheeled vehicle. It has to trace a certain path. So if you see it in the 3D view, you will see 1, 2 like this. So in that path, he has completed a verse called Garuda Gati Bandham. Look at this. Kavyaya sthita marga vyaja yataga margaka. Kamada jagata sthityai rangapungava paduka. Now see, kavyaya sthita. Ka, vya, ya. Then if you see 4. Where is 4? Here, sthi. So if you see kavyaya sthi. So if you take this in the 3D mode, that describes the velocity at which a Garuda traces the path. So it's called Garuda Gati Bandham. This is one of the verses in the 1008 verses he wrote in 3 hours. So, if you see, this is Vedanta Deshika who lived 750 years back. He gave one work to one of his other good followers called Tyagaraja Swami, born 500 years after his birth. Tyagaraja, in his opera called as Prahlada Bhakti Vijayam, says Prahlada was tormented by his father Hiranyakashipu, and Nagapasham had enveloped the little boy. So when he was thrown into the seas, the Lord of the Seas said, "O son of Vinata, Garuda, please come and relieve this boy from the snakes." So this is the only composition available in Carnatic music that is exclusively dedicated to Garuda. It is called Vinata Sutta Rara in Ragam Hushaini. Vinata Sutta Rara na Vinuti Gai Konara Gananagha Pashambula Khandincha Rara Amareshuni Gelichi Nivamritamu Techi Vimala Kirti Vahinchi Velasi Linna Vira. So, I don't know if, sorry. Can you just check in the monitor if you can click that, just below that button is the audio player. If you take your cursor there.
Vinata Sutararana Vinuti Kai Konaraya 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 Vinata Sutararana.
This is a composition by Sangeeta Kalanidhi Ramanathan sir. So he has sung. Now this presentation, which is slightly tangential to most of the traditional Upanyasams where we sit in one place and we keep going without the aid of this, is to say that with the aid of technology, we can bring some positive changes to the young and the working population. People who are accustomed to traditional lectures may find, oh, those 2 hours of lectures where you give those traditional lectures with no pictures, no slides, that is better, sir. But trust me, we have close to 500 to 600 million Indian population below the age of 30. They are all either in colleges, schools, or some of them have joined in jobs. If you ask them to go sit for a 7-day Bhagavata Saptaham, 2.5 hours every day, they won't. So here I had the help of Sri Mani of Mindful Insights, who gracefully, graciously, benevolently, out of simple magnanimity said, take the LED for yourself, the 20 feet and the 10 feet that you have, and present whatever you want. So Garuda has one character, Garuda. See, if it is Krishna and Rama, it is fine. People will assume, what is there to speak about Garuda? There's so much about Garuda, right from the might, right from the power that he holds. to the servitude, the ardent bhakti that he had towards the Lord, and the way he's venerated in all these temples. See, I just went to one temple of Karnataka. The remaining temples are all there in Tamil Nadu. Srivilliputturu, Tenthirupperai, Mangadu, Tiruvelliyangudi, Srirangam, Nachiyar Kovil, Srivilliputturu, they're all there in Tamil Nadu. So one state has so much to offer to Garuda. And there is a prasadam also for Garuda. There is a ragam called Garuda Dhvani. There is a kriti on Garuda called Vinata Sutarara. There is a poetry called Garuda Gati Bandham. There is a dandakam called Garuda Dandakam. There is a panchashat called Garuda Panchashat. So there is so much for us to see in Garuda. So Sanatana Dharma becomes, in the negative way the Western world says, don't open the Pandora box. For us, Sanatana Dharma is also a box, but when we open it positively, we just have gems flowing out of it. And with the aid of technology, we can bring some nice, interesting changes to the young minds. Because I have never done, except for my days of corporate life where every day we had to make one presentation or the other. Generally, for my lectures, I've never used a PPT. Though my Acharya, Karunakar Acharya, is extremely fond of PPTs, I have never used a PPT because I feel narration alone will suffice. But this is the first time I'm trying something with the aid of technology to help to check if children who patiently sit through lectures, children who can understand because they can associate with pictures. Imagine everything is blank, and as such for my regular lectures, I come with one white color veshti and uttariyam with a stubble on my face, no lights on me, 2.5 hours they have to sit, no child will sit. So we have to find new ways to entertain and keep our children engaged. That way Mani has done a wonderful job by gifting me this LED. Thank you. Namaskaram.